If you want to learn from the greatest art teacher in the world, check out Visual Storytelling by Bill Perkins only at New Masters Academy, the greatest online art school on the planet. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial and learn from the legends. I am deep in your mind. I am deep in your... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, the background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about, is this the end for the American animation industry?
Before we get into it, make sure to smash, jingle, touch, flick, all our bells and buttons over here, please and thank you.
It is almost the holidays. You are looking absolutely fantastic. We hope you are getting cozy with your favorite lover or lovers. Ooh, menage a trois, menage a trois, menage a trois. How do you think they look? What do you think they look?
You look great. You look festive.
You look really good.
You look...
Honestly.
That shirt looks really good on you.
And I like what you've done with everything. Now, Janet and I, we made a bet last week. What was our bet, Janet? We made a bet about a certain movie.
So, Encanto was opening, and we thought it's not going to do well. Because
if you don't know, because maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you had no idea this movie came out, which is actually not out of the realm of possibility. Encanto is Disney's latest animated movie. Mm-hmm. Centers young woman in a community, and like everyone has powers, but her. Oh man, it sounds like My Hero Academia, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Kind of does, doesn't it?
Geeky, awkward girl who's not purposefully not beautiful compared to her beautiful princess-looking sister, mm-hmm. who has no talents whatsoever, is for some reason the main character of a movie where you should give a shit about the main character when everyone else is far more interesting than her. Basically is the movie.
So like a Disney employee.
Yes. She straight up looks like a Disney employee. I straight up know some people who look exactly like her, and they just kind of designed themselves and was like, let's be more inclusive. Let's make someone who like literally no one cares about. Like I would rather watch the movie about her beautiful sister.
Right. Somehow embedded within the narcissism. I mean, somehow embedded within all of these like themes of like, oh, it's making more inclusive, is the deep narcissism of like I want to be in the movie. I know I'm doing this for culture, but also I personally want to be in the movie, which is just like every single animated venture in the past 5 years made by people like us. Yes.
And I literally didn't know this movie was about to come out until I think I saw it in front of... the Eternals, because I was forced to watch the Eternals by you guys. And I was like... Because
I saw the trailer earlier.
Yeah.
And I thought like, oh, that's pretty. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's going to be the Thanksgiving movie, clearly. And then you refused to watch the trailer until you forced her to watch the Eternals, and then unfortunately she had to watch the trailer.
Yeah. And I was like... I had all these judgments, all these gripes that I just talked about I was like, literally, why would any little girl want to watch this movie? This doesn't make... I am a little girl at heart. I think every artist is. We're all like a little bit stunted.
I'm a little girl at heart.
Where we don't want to grow up, and that's kind of a defining factor.
Oh, we had the Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah, kind of. For better or for worse. Some of it have it worse than others. So I am very in touch with like what if I were a little girl again, what I would want to watch. And I watched this trailer and I was like, literally, you're taking every single thing a little girl would want and being like, no, I'm not giving that to you. And you're not gonna look pretty. You don't have a pretty sparkly dress. You don't even have special powers.
There's so many people saying you're sexist and you're promoting harmful gender standards to the youth who have very low self-esteem.
Doesn't every little girl, every gay boy, every person who likes pretty things looks at Disney princesses and go like, I want to be that.
It's something to aspire to.
Yeah. Trying to ignore the fact that like we like beautiful things, like us as creatures, even crows.
What, you don't think Jeffree Star, when he's putting on makeup, doesn't think like, oh, my favorite Disney princess, or something like that? Just it doesn't cross his mind. You think it just never crossed his mind ever as he put on makeup? It must have. It must have.
Like every man is attracted to like a Disney princess in some kind of way. Every girl, whether you're gay or not.
Let's play one round of KFM with 3 Disney princesses.
Oh my god, okay.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors. We go. Who goes first?
Okay.
I guess. Rock, paper, scissors.
So who goes first?
You win. So you call who goes first.
You go first.
Okay. KFM, Elsa, Cinderella, and The Little Mermaid.
So, Little Mermaid.
Whoa, that's so mean.
Because I hate her.
She's so beloved.
She's
like
her.
one of I think she's my favorite Disney princess. I think.
She, in my opinion, aesthetically, is my favorite.
Oh, in terms of design?
Yeah.
Glen Keeman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's the original Rapunzel.
Goat.
And I hate her because, so like, I think people have rosy lenses when they think about The Little Mermaid. I had rosy lenses when I thought about The Little Mermaid until I rewatched it in college. And then I was like, I hate this girl. I hate you so much. I want to punch you. Like, all you talk about is, like, this guy that you don't even know, and you, like, are kind of, like, the worst spoiled. Like, people think I'm spoiled? No. The Little Mermaid, like, Ariel is spoiled, okay?
Because most of the Disney employees are like Ariel.
Yeah.
That's like their number one Disney princess.
Yeah.
It's kind of default because like it's when someone our age has seen Little Mermaid at least they're 3 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's like that's like probably the first Disney princess you've ever seen in your existence. And guess what? For Gen Z, that's Elsa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe Rapunzel.
So what about Elsa?
What was the other option?
I said Cinderella.
Oh, right.
And then Elsa.
I would F Elsa.
Why? As opposed to everyone else.
She's hot.
Why do you think she's a good the Let It Go song?
She's hot and repressed.
Like you.
Well, I don't know about that. And then I'd marry Cinderella because she's wifey material.
Waifu.
She
as
like
the anime
cleans and cooks and does
That's a
all the
modest
things
life.
I don't want to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Do me. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Do me.
KFM Rapunzel. Belle.
Oh.
And let me reach far
crazy.
back in my memories. Why is this so hard? And Sleeping Beauty.
I'd kill Sleeping Beauty.
So she's boring?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't have boring.
She just sleeps.
You can't marry someone who's boring, and you can't make a one night stand with someone who's boring because they're fucking boring.
Okay.
So I guess I'm going to kill the half awake princess. You know?
Okay.
Okay. And then man, give me 1 second. It's between Belle or what again?
Rapunzel.
Oh, damn.
They're like the same, actually,
Dude,
when I think about
it. So I don't know what I'm gonna choose, but I'm just gonna like vomit what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going through right now is I really love how perky Rapunzel is. Like I really love her. Like she's the perkiest one out of all of them. I think like you dial it up even more, you get Anna, who's like you kind of want to punch in the face.
Yes.
A little bit. Like she's a little annoying. Like don't lie. She's a little annoying. But like Rapunzel's the perfect amount of like perky without being like overbearing Anna. You know, like she's like perfect. And then, okay, and then I really like how smart Belle is.
Yeah.
Belle is like book smarts, and I really like book smarts. Book smarts is really good. Would I want to? It's basically, would I want to live forever with a really book smarted person who I could probably have a really great conversation with all the time.
Yeah, she reads a lot.
But I feel like Rapunzel is like the whole package. She's also creative. Remember, she's basically an artist in the movie. She painted, remember, and she was like stuck in her mom's basement or whatever, or in, you know, the tower or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've decided. I'm going to marry Rapunzel, and I guess one night stand Belle.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't think Belle. I probably would be bored when I'm like 60 or 70 or whatever. Like, what is she gonna do? Just talk about books for the rest of her life?
I would have chose the opposite.
At least Rapunzel would have been like, oh, let's visit Borneo or you know, Karosha or something. Let's like hang out somewhere fun. Like Belle would just want to like sit and like, oh, I want to write my fucking memoir. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I would marry Belle because she loves you no matter what you look like.
But I look good already. Like, I don't need that. I'm clearly not the beast.
I can have deep conversations with her. Meanwhile, Rapunzel's kind of dumb.
Yeah, but like fun dumb. Like, you know.
Yeah, but you want
like Luna
to marry
Lovegood.
That?
I mean, like I could marry. If we were playing this with Harry Potter, I would marry Luna Lovegood.
As opposed to like Hermione.
Yes, exactly. If this were the other way around, it would in Harry Potter land. It would be Hermione versus Luna Lovegood, and I'd choose the exact same thing. I would never, ever marry Hermione, but I would F Hermione because I could say to my friends, "Hey, there's this one time."
Oh my god.
There's this one time.
I guess. Like, Belle and Hermione would definitely, like, nag at you eventually.
Yes! And be like, so annoying! Like, you two are so annoying.
Why are you like this? But like, you're with me. I don't understand.
I think you're more like Rapunzel.
Really?
You're not book smart. You don't, like, sit around and read all day long like I don't know.
I'm somewhere in between. That's what
you listen to audiobooks as you run. It's so much. Yeah. It's like you're that efficient.
People don't understand. I'm not. People think I'm either like Hermione or Rapunzel, but in reality, I'm just somewhere in between. People think I'm either dumb as a rock or I'm supremely clairvoyant or something, and I'm neither. Anyways. So yes, Encanto doesn't have any of that magic of all these characters that we just described. So
you wouldn't even think to play KFM with any of the characters.
No.
Okay.
Except for the sister.
I don't even remember the sister. She
has really beautiful hair, and she's basically like a Disney princess.
Oh, is she the one who almost looks like the one from Hunchback?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And they like we're trying to do the Frozen thing where they're like trying to intentionally subvert expectations. Like, we're gonna put literally the main character in the movie, but she's not the main character. She's just the side character, the sister of the main character.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean now. That character that looks like the Hunchback character.
Yeah.
Would basically be the main character if this were a typical Disney movie.
We're so forward thinking.
Oh shit! The deconstruction runs
keeps going.
Oh, what if it wasn't a pretty girl? Oh!
Better yet, she has no talent.
Oh!
Like literally, I'm sitting there in the theater going, why would I watch this? I don't understand the appeal, the draw. So because I felt that way, I was like, oh, this movie is gonna fail so hard. And you thought the same thing.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like there was any, sort of enthusiasm for it. Nobody was talking about it, and when it came out, it's not like it became like a Squid Game thing where suddenly it became like a underground success or some sort of modest success. I just didn't hear any buzz about it. It's just like the movie to watch for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. So because we knew it was coming out the week after Ghostbusters, we made a bet. You said that you probably, if it's doing badly, then I'll probably do 20 million for opening weekend, and then if it's the most it will do is probably 40.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like I said, okay, so Ghostbusters came out, though it's really murky on the internet whether people like it or not, or think it's
I think the audience likes it.
I think the audience likes it, but then at the moment, it was like, you didn't understand, like, oh, do people like it, or are the critics right? It's just like a nostalgia fest or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, it turns out people like it. Like, the normies, they really like this movie. So I was thinking, what if this movie has legs? And what if it is the Thanksgiving movie? Because it is a family-oriented movie, apparently. So I was thinking, like, oh, shoot, what if this beats Encanto? Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, like, okay, we'll see. But then we saw this movie, Come On, with Joaquin Phoenix. I regret my life. I regret the 2 hours of my life. I've fallen asleep to 3 movies now. The first is Angels and Demons with Ewan McGregor and Tom Hanks, based on the Dan Brown novel. I fell asleep. That was the very first time I fell asleep in the movie theater. And I was so shocked, because I was like, man, $12, man. Like, I blew $12. I slept through the movie. I was, like, really disappointed in myself. The second time was when we watched King Kong Skull Island.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That was so bad. And then it was this movie. I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand this movie, man.
Watch it if you
whatever
want,
you want to do with your life is whatever you want to do with your life, but I regret my life.
Yeah. I love slice of life movies, but this was not a good one.
So I just kept needing to pee for whatever reason. I guess I was just that distracted in the mind while trying to watch this movie. But then as I would walk out, there was this one theater that just exited, and I don't know, for whatever, at this AMC I couldn't see on the top what movie came out, but it was a bunch of us's.
Millennials?
It was a bunch of millennials, and I was like, it was a lot of them, man.
Yeah.
It was a lot of them. It was like big. It was like, I don't know, like James Bond or something.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty big. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, what movie is this? And I was like, I bet it was Ghostbusters. Yeah. And then we found out the box office results for that weekend. Mm-hmm. So it turns out Encanto was number 1.
But not by much.
You want to explain the numbers?
Yes. So Encanto, we're talking about just like the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, got like 20-something million. And then Ghostbusters, this is their second weekend, they did literally like 500,000 less. So Ghostbusters almost beat Disney's opening weekend for their animated movie for Thanksgiving. And Ghostbusters opening weekend did like 40, close to 50 million. Disney, technically their opening weekend, the entire Thanksgiving weekend, including like Thursday and Friday, which is a little unfair because Ghostbusters opening weekend was only two days, did about 40 million. Yeah. And that's first of all, we were right that Ghostbusters has legs and everyone's going to go watch that because it's good. And even if it's lower than normal because of like post-pandemic numbers, if your movie is good, people are going to talk about it, everyone's going to go watch it, and it's going to have legs. So at least it might make its money back. Disney, no one cared about this movie, and like all the media is saying like, oh, it's number 1 for the weekend, because technically it is, but not by much. And for a Disney movie, it's abysmal. And the entire Thanksgiving weekend was abysmal for movies in general. No one went to watch movies during Thanksgiving. I don't know what they did. Yeah. And you must be thinking right now, man, we have been under this lockdown situation for almost pretty much 2 years now. Yeah. I don't even remember what the numbers were for what would be considered as a success. Mm-hmm. So, shall we run through the numbers of maybe a group of movies that came out this year that were animated? Yes.
By, an American animated studio. And let's run through the numbers of 2019.
Yes.
Pre-COVID. Yes. What that looked like for the studios then.
Just to remind you, because when we looked up all these numbers, I was like, oh, yeah, things are Things are not good. So 2021 movies in the box office. I'm only gonna talk about. We're only gonna talk about the movies that were in theaters, not the streaming ones because the numbers are a little fuzzy for that. And like streaming movies aren't. There's still a push towards like box office opening things. So Boss Baby, DreamWorks, 57 million domestic. Luca, Pixar movie, it was streaming as well, and because of that, altogether domestic is worldwide actually is 40 million for Luca. That's really bad for worldwide because they didn't have domestic numbers in the United States, but because it's close in numbers to this other movie that we'll talk about, it probably did about 17 million domestic, about less than half, because that's how the domestic box office kind of works. And then the Addams Family, 56 million. Raya did 54.7 million. Space Jam did 70 million, but I don't really consider it an animated movie because it has LeBron in it.
I think people came to see LeBron interact with all the characters.
Yeah, they didn't go because it was Space Jam or whatever. Spirit, DreamWorks, is 17 million. That was really, really bad. Ron's Way Home, which I saw it while a lot of other better movies were out, only did like 22 million. I had no idea what that movie is about. And that's about it. That's really, really, really bad numbers. But you have nothing to compare it to. You don't know, like, oh, is 56 million good? That seems good. Like, Raya seems like it did good, 56. That's like barely half of its budget. I don't even think it's half. So
let's talk about 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2019. Oh, actually, and then there's Mugen Train.
Oh, yes, Mugen Train.
There's Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer, Mugen Train.
Which is insane. It did 40 million domestic in the United States, and this is a foreign movie. This did 40 million domestic, and then it did 400 million worldwide.
Jeez, 400 million!
All these other movies that I just talked about that are American made, they typically did about 100-something million worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it did like...
Nothing has made something like that this year for us.
Yeah. So it's kind of insane,
that
movie. So now 2019. And these numbers, I was really shocked. So there's obviously Into the Spider-Verse, that did 190 million domestic.
I'm not sure if Spider-Verse is in 2019 or if it's 2018.
Oh, well, pre-corona time, close to, fairly recent.
Yeah.
And then Spies in Disguise, 66 million. Wonder Park, considered a failure, 45 million domestic.
And that's like COVID numbers now.
Yeah. Yeah. Considered good.
Yeah.
Missing Link, 16 million.
Ooh, that's Leica?
I think so.
Oh, jeez.
I think Leica is... Yeah. Abominable, 20 million. That's really, really, really bad. Frozen 2, though. 477 million domestic.
Say that number again.
477 million domestic.
Whoa.
Which means it probably made close to $1 billion worldwide.
Huh.
And Toy Story for 434 million domestic. And opening box office for Frozen 2 was 130 million.
Man.
That's like more than double what opening box office looks like today. And for Toy Story is 120 million open. And it's a super sequel, Toy Story 4. It's like a really, like, the fourth one still made.
People still went out.
A lot, yeah.
And put their butt on the seat just to watch Toy Story 4.
So this reminds me why, the other studios, once Disney picks a date to release a movie,
they stay clear. Yeah.
I was reminded why. But now, you look at the numbers, all the numbers are kind of evened out. Like, no one's watching Raya more than they're watching Boss Baby, you know? So, like, it doesn't make sense why people steer clear of Disney movies now, other than, like, they're just used to, like, Disney movies, like, we don't want to compete with that. We're gonna die.
Well, do you think the other studios will be more on the offensive next year?
Yeah, I think so.
Oof.
I think so.
Do you think they know that Disney's weak?
I think so.
Oof.
I mean, if we know, I think they know.
They know so much more than we do.
Yeah. Like, it's obvious at this point. All the people who are in denial, all the media, all these people, I think they are... What's the word? I guess in denial, but also, like, you haven't adjusted to life. Like, I feel like we adjust according to, like, if there's bad news bears out there, we're not gonna be like, oh, close my ears, close my eyes, like, I'm fine, I'm totally fine. Like,
it's gonna go away eventually, don't worry.
Yeah,
it's gonna go back to normal.
That's most people's worldview, though. And I don't want to be that way. So I look at this and, like, people, I wonder if people think, like, I find joy out of these things, like the destruction of Hollywood and the fact that movies aren't doing, like, I don't actually, because
we like going to see movies, actually.
I like watching movies.
We just went to see Come On, Come On, a movie that hardly anybody saw.
And I also understand how many people's jobs are on the line with this type of stuff. But when I was working, I would actively look up this stuff and keep in the know, because I don't want to delude myself. Delusional. These people are delusional. I don't want to delude myself into thinking, like, this is a sure thing. I need to be up to date with the economy, and if movies are doing bad, I need to, like, save my own skin. I need to eat. I need a job, and I want to, like, there are so many people I've worked with who, like, couldn't get their second job or third job or next job because they were a little, I don't know why, there's no data to explain why they were so optimistic about, like, oh, animation is great, it's doing so well. Like, they don't actually know that. They're just drinking the Kool-Aid because someone told them that. But when you show me the numbers, then I'm like, okay, animation's doing well right now, I still have a job. If I know that animation is not doing well, at least I know I need to, like, start brushing up that portfolio, get some freelance or something.
Pivot somehow.
Yeah. But to delude yourself is, like, not preparing yourself for the worst. Like, sometimes bad things happen, and you just gotta, like, figure it out. And when I see these numbers, it's like, oh, this is how good it used to be.
Man. And really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it upsets me, because I was working during this time, and we were all not getting paid enough. Like, look at Frozen 2. All these people, they made $1 billion. You think that the people who made this for you guys actually saw that much? Like, people think like, oh, you get paid so much working in Hollywood. You work in LA. We are, like, bottom of the barrel compared to literally, like, everyone else who works in the entertainment industry. Like, we're compared to live action, compared to advertisements. The people who work in commercials, who make, like, Coke commercials, they get paid more than animation people. You realize that, right? People who have never freelanced or worked in any other artistic entertainment industry outside of animation don't realize how you don't get paid jack shit. And it makes me really mad, because I understood all of this because I freelanced and worked for, like, motion companies, other people before, and theme parks and all this stuff. I know the going rate for each of these different industries, and technically as artists we can work in all these different industries if we chose to. And the fact that, like, people are so closed off to everything else. They're so, like, do or die, I'm gonna work in this industry, this is my dream. This is my dream, Janet. Don't tell me that I'm not gonna listen to you because this is my dream. Okay, I don't care. Just know that you're not gonna make it. Okay? Because, like we didn't. Like, we should have been making more when, like, these people were making billions of dollars.
While the economy was really good.
Well, it was really good.
Really, really good.
And, like, you didn't want to strike? You didn't want to, like, do anything? You didn't want to, like, get paid more? What did you have to lose? And then now suddenly it's like, oh, like, now when shit's hitting the fan, you wanna do something, but you still didn't. You still do shit. like we predicted at the beginning of the year, and I'm just like, whatever, not my problem anymore. It's just when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I didn't get paid enough. I should have been paid more. But I couldn't do anything about it. I'm just one person.
Oh, but the free tickets to Disneyland, free passes to Disneyland.
That's the thing. People in animation and in Hollywood, they're willing to get paid less because of the free stuff they give you.
Free lunches.
And especially because of the notoriety, the status that you get. Status doesn't pay for shit, man. Pay me. I don't care. I don't care if like you think I'm like the lowest human depraved, whatever. Like, just pay me, okay? I have been listening to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a very, very important book for someone like me who is very unlikable and everyone hates people like me. So this has been very, very valuable information. If you are anything like me and you want to win friends and influence people, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you'll get one free audiobook. I highly recommend this book. It'll change your life. That's audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. How about that? I don't care. I don't care about having my name in lights. I don't care about being famous. How about I just like be able to live when I'm 65 and old and I can't work anymore because I have arthritis in my hands and I've drawn too much in my life. Like, how about that? Instead, like...
Oh, but yeah, they don't think that far.
No, they're just like, here, you want legacy? Here, I'll give you legacy. I will give you your own show. I'll give you your credits, and then not pay you like writers. Like, writers get paid more for their credits. That's why it means more. I saw literally in the guild people arguing for credits and like, oh, we'll give you credits, but like you realize you also need to get paid for that, right? For writing credit. And then they're like, no, I just want the credit. I think artists are just, I really wish they figured out numbers.
Artists really want, because they've been told all their lives that you're not going to amount to anything, just want that emblem of like, oh, this validates everything. Yeah. I can like tell my math teacher who never thought I was going to be anything that I'm finally somebody. That's why that credit matters. Gotta screen cap that and show that to all of your enemies. Am I right? Am I right?
all the people in high school that bullied you.
Exactly.
That didn't amount to much. Exactly. You need to show them how much you are higher on the totem pole than them now. Instead of just, I don't know, forgive and forget.
I honestly think that's like more top of mind than like, oh, I'm loved by so many random people. It's the vitriol. It's the venom of like, I've made it, and all these people who thought I wasn't shit are now shit, and I'm a somebody, ha ha ha. Yeah. Because I work in cartoons.
It's either the people, the ignorant people that harassed you when you were young, or it's your family members that don't understand you that also harassed you when you were young, and probably still do. And like, what I don't understand, if you are an immigrant, you will understand the sentiment. There's no amount of achievement that I can have that will prevent my family from harassing me. This is just a thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, your parents and your extended family will always harass you till you die, and you just have to accept that as an immigrant, okay? Like, I mean, from an immigrant family, like, it doesn't matter, like, they don't understand. Like, they don't understand when I was working at DreamWorks.
What you actually did.
What I did, yeah.
What DreamWorks kind of was. It would be, oh, Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda.
If they were smart, if they were a little bit more, like, whitewashed,
right,
they would be, oh, like Kung Fu Panda, yeah. But, like, if they didn't, they're like, so what do you do? You, like, animate? Like, not really, but okay, yes. And then,
everybody in the industry has had this conversation.
Yeah.
At least in Thanksgiving or holiday,
and then,
whatever.
And then they'll be like, but where do you work? And, like, DreamWorks. And they're like, what? So not Disney? I'm like, yes, not Disney. Yes, not Disney. And then when I finally worked at Disney, they still didn't know what I did. They're like, oh, you work at Disney. I'm like, okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just they didn't know it. They still didn't know what you did. But
No.
it's something that they know.
Yeah. At least they. Yeah. It's a brand name that they know. That's all. That's all. But like you think like I get any less from my family, like just day to day? Like no. Like if your family sucks, your family sucks. Like
okay. So here's advice for people who are maybe like around 18 or whatever, going into art school and have all of these like feelings pent up about like, I'm going to show you mom and dad. I'm going to show you bully at school. I'm going to show you history teacher who like made fun of me for drawing class. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that I'm going to make something myself, and you're just a f***ing history teacher. Yeah. Let me tell you right now that you're going to end up just like the history teacher. Yes. But you're drawing cartoons. Yeah. You're not teaching kids. No. That's the only difference. You're basically the same person. Yeah. But you're tricking yourself into thinking, just because like your name shows up on the TV for one fraction of a second, that somehow you are higher in the food chain than your history teacher. Whereas ask anyone in the street. I have lived here all my life, like I like to say. I'm not like ask anyone in the street, like, what cartoons do you watch? No one watches cartoons. Yeah, no. And no one thinks about their history teacher. No. Yeah. You fall under the same bracket. The same one. Yeah, when you grow up and you get a job and you move out of the house and you have your own life, you should be thinking about how great your own life is and how to make your own life better, and not be hung up over like my history teacher,
everyone else's opinion of you. Your parents, your family, your teachers, your bullies, your childhood friends, who cares? You don't live there anymore. You moved here, you got a job, you became successful. How about you just live your best life? How about that? Because those are the people in animation that I tend to like to be friends with. The people who just like forgot, and just moved on. And just like, I enjoy my life now. This is like, it's a job. And it's cool, I guess, that I get to like draw for a living. It kind of sucks, all things kind of suck sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm saving up for a house.
But yeah, I have a family. I'm having kids. I got married. I went on a cool trip to Japan or something. Like, there are far more interesting, valuable things to do in life than to be hung up over your high school bully or your parents that hate you or don't understand you. Like, people, at least if there's one maturity thing I wish for people in animation, if that's the one thing they get out of these hard times, that like there are more important things in life, okay, than your fucking
vengeance.
Yeah,
tour.
Your vengeance and your artistic legacy, okay.
What would you say the percentage of artists and illustrators in animation are doing it for some form of vengeance?
Like 100% of them. I'm not gonna lie, like, we understand this because we've been there.
Yes. Why do you think we know this?
I'm not embarrassed to admit that now that I have moved past it.
We've done more embarrassing things.
Yes. Like, as someone who comes from a child of immigrants, of course we wanted to like prove our parents wrong. Of course we wanted to like be like, I'll show you. I have all these ambitions.
Then once you get it, once you attain it, it's like, what? Yeah. And that's like the crazy part. Like, lots of people our age, like 30 and above, are realizing like they just worked and like invested so much of their like 20s for what? Yeah. Like, for what? There's a big old question mark of like, I have a diploma, not really sure what to do with it. I have this career, don't really feel fulfilled. What should I do now?
True maturity is admitting that and accepting it. I think like to be like, no, no, not me. I don't make mistakes like we all make mistakes like that. Come on, that's fine. Just admit it and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being that immature and wanting these things that you thought was so important.
Yeah, and like, you did it. Yeah. You actually did it.
You did it. But all of this to say, this is the hard data that shows that animation entertainment is not looking so good, which means artists, creative types, creators in general, are going to have a hard time and have had a hard time. If you've talked to any artist that makes their living with their creativity in the past 2 years, they've all had a very hard time, whether you're independent or not. And it reminds me of when the pandemic first started. We were listening to Scott Adams, and he was saying this thing, not to be hurtful, but to be helpful. That artists...
Scott also a cartoonist.
Yes.
Not just like
very
some dude just like shitting on people.
Successful cartoonist.
Yes.
Creator of Dilbert. Much more successful than most of us will ever hope to be.
Yeah.
He said, like, to my fellow artists out there, just letting you know, no one cares about you right now. As, you know, a pandemic is happening, the world is burning, there's a lot more things to care about right now. You are not one of them. And that's okay. Like, just understand that. Just understand that. And I thought very deeply about this, which is one of the reasons why we pivoted really hard right when the pandemic happened. We knew, like, live events gone, all these new changes, we're going to need to figure out how to do things online. And I thought we were ahead of the curve, and we kind of were in a lot of ways, pivoting and accepting this new reality. But what I thought was he was saying was, this is a pandemic related thing, that because the pandemic is happening, because of, like, the world is burning and all these things that are far more important than, hey, look at my pretty art. I thought it was very, very, very temporary. But then I'm starting to realize, with all this data, all these numbers, fairly recently, this is not temporary at all. We need to all treat this as a economy issue. We need to treat this like my mentality going into after the 2008 housing crisis.
And what was that?
That was the cause of the recession.
I mean, like, what was your mentality?
Oh, that getting a job is going to be really hard. Getting paid to be an artist, a creative, is going to be really hard, because during a recession, depression, downturn in the economy, why would anyone want to buy art? Why would anyone want anything to do with a useless thing as art, as creative work or whatever? There are far more important jobs out there, clearly. Doctors, lawyers, police, firemen, like,
especially,
you know,
lawyers right now.
Yeah, like, that you almost every single other job other than the creative is more important right now than the creative. And I realized, like, oh, this is probably going to be here at least for the next 8 years, for the next decade, basically, because that's how long it took for the recession to, like, when we were finally out of school, it was really difficult to find our first job. And then when it finally started picking up, then we got our first job, things are good for a while, and now soon, like, it happened way too soon, but, like, you can't help what happens in the world. Now it's gone straight back to that. Because do you really think, as these animation studios are hemorrhaging money, they used to make easily a few hundred million on even a bad movie.
Now it's tough to break $500,000.
Now it's tough to break $500,000. Worldwide, maybe 100 million. Maybe you'll make your money back. When they're barely making money as it is themselves, do you really think, you as an artist, as a creative, do you really think jobs will be aplenty? Like, when all the new people coming out of school right now, they're gonna have it hard, like, because the studios are gonna retain talent. They're gonna retain people like you, people like me if they don't quit. They're trying to retain them for as cheap as possible, and when they're not making a lot of stuff, because look at the recent Disney Plus event. If you really were analytical about that event, what were they chasing after?
They were chasing after 14 plus.
Yeah. There's lots of Marvel. There's lots of Star Wars. Nowhere do I see animation, what Disney's known for. Nowhere do I see... you know what I think is a mistake? That Disney is trying to head into this 14 plus market that they were never in before. If you think Disney's market is millennials, you're making a huge mistake. Their brand is little girls, princess movies, and families.
Oh, but that's what they used to be. They're trying to evolve into something else.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Look at Frozen 2 and Toy Story 4, geared towards little girls with pretty princesses, and it basically made almost $1 billion. And like, it's every single time they have strayed from that path of princess movies, it hasn't been well. And then you know what brought them back? Tangled, a princess movie that was in production hell for like a decade.
I think 2 decades.
Yeah.
That's craziness. But that's crazy, right? Man, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of people who are staying home, and I don't know what else they're doing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, especially the 14 plus people, if they're not watching Disney Plus, they're just on the internet or watching anime.
Yeah. So what we realized Disney's strategy is kind of genius in a way, and I'm pretty sure Hollywood has been doing this for decades and decades and decades. So we were thinking, like, why is anime so popular right now, specifically? And it's because anime was kind of what we watched, like, basically cusp millennials and Gen Z watched when we were really young. When we were kids, we didn't really grow up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Marvel, DC comics, and American cartoons.
Ghostbusters.
No. That's like early.
That was like our older siblings.
Yeah. Yeah. But maybe early a late Gen Xers. That's the people born in like the 80s, basically. We were born like in the 90s.
Early 90s.
So when we were growing up, we were watching like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Naruto, Dragon Ball, all that stuff. And then our younger siblings, like the Gen Zers, they were introduced to that stuff.
They rediscovered Naruto
with us.
Yeah.
Like we would either introduce it to them, or like they too were like watching that. So it seems like every 10 years, Hollywood does this like nostalgia thing where they go back to like, what were the kids who are now in their 20s and 30s, what were they watching, and how do we market to them? So the past decade, they were marketing towards like the people born in the 80s, a little bit earlier, because those Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that, Transformers, that's what they grew up on. We didn't grow up on that, so we don't really care all that much. What we did grow up on is anime, and it's really interesting that like Disney is pulling this thing where they're like, we need to market towards people who are into anime, people who are into this, and I see it everywhere. Like, I think the next decade is going to be about anime and about people like us. And Gen Zers specifically, like the younger millennials and the older Gen Zers who are like super into anime, super into like internet culture, but like internet culture changes so fast. It's like, I don't recommend Hollywood try to keep up. It's leave that to the internet. And I think Disney can't compete with that because Disney's brand has never been about that. I think they should really stick to family and little girls in princess movies, because that's what they do best. That's what people want from them. For them to try to go into anime, like, anime is going to eat your lunch. And for them to even begin to try to go into internet, you look at like Mr. Beast and his new Squid Game thing. It did over 100 million. Yeah. That's more people that watched his little video than went and watched Encanto. because you can do the numbers. About 1 to 2 million domestic people went to go watch Encanto, paid for seats. And that's, like, the parents probably paid for their, like, 2-year-old to go see who's never going to remember the movie. Like, you know, like, that's 1 to 2 million people who went to see, and, like, Mr. Beast did 100 million in like, a few days. Like, that's insane. So, like, I don't see Disney's strategy to win out all that well. It's a fine strategy. It might work. I don't know. But, like, if that's what's going forward and this is what it's looking like, animation's kind of dying right now. I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's the end. But I do think it's, like, not going to be front of mind for a while.
This is such a downer. It's such a downer for a lot of the artist hopefuls who are, you know, trying to be on the internet or trying to break into some sort of industry, trying to make the next animated thingy.
That's...
What solution? Like, what? This is such a downer.
I don't see it as a downer at all, though.
Well, how do you see it then?
I see it as, okay, now I know, and I can do something about it.
And what then? What could somebody do?
I think it's important that if you understand that art is not, no one cares about it right now because they care about far greater things, then you can't be just an artist. I think pivoting, every single person who is doing the most pivoting and trying to figure out something that works right now is very, very, very smart. They're like the people who know how to survive. The people who are delusional and who are holding on to this thing and saying, no, you're wrong, I'm like, okay, I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not saying this to, like, to burst your bubble or what. I don't care what you do with your life. Like, what do I care? It's your life. You
could be wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. I mean, the numbers kind of back me up, but I don't really care. But I think the people who are pivoting, they're understanding that, like, okay, what do people care about? What can I give people that they care about while still being a creative? So I think it's really important that, like, people become content creators and have a little bit more independence. Even if it's like, oh, I want to freelance and I want to do my own thing on the side, or I want to freelance to supplement my job or whatever. I think the idea of, like, I'm going to graduate art school and I'm going to get a job at Disney is like, okay, good luck. But that shouldn't be your only plan when you know that, like, they're not doing so well right now. Why are they going to hire you?
Oh, but it's so difficult to convince somebody who's, like, 17, who's like, oh, I really want to.
That's fine. That's fine. You can really, that's fine. But also, like, have a backup. Have, like, or not even a backup. Have, like, a thing you do on the side while you're trying to do this. Because that's kind of what we did, and I almost just never worked in animation because we were doing fine. We were doing fine at conventions. We were doing fine doing the independent thing. We would have had, like, a whole apparel line brand at this point. Like a up and running one, a much bigger one than we do now if I had just put all my eggs in that basket. But then, you know,
because you had to, like, play halvesies with animation.
Yeah. I eventually, you know, when you get offered a job and you never had that kind of validation before, you're like, oh, I want that. I want to be validated by DreamWorks and Disney, and I want that credit to my name. When, like, now that I'm older, I feel like it would have been so much cooler instead to be like, I have my own company.
Well, then what do you say to those people, the artists and creatives who have, like, some sort of following or audience and is making a few, you know, couple hundred or so a month on, like, whatever merch or AdSense or whatever, but then they also think, oh, I'm certainly not, like, a Disney artist or whatever, and, like, if I had that job, it'd be so much better than the bullshit I have now.
I don't think people will believe me when I say every single person working in the industry, like, in animation, wants what you have. You really, like, when we would go to conventions like Lightbox, CTN, or even, like, WonderCon, because a lot of like animation people will like do table at those type of things too. A lot of them don't know how to make it on their own. If they like sometimes they'll try their hand at like making prints. Let's say they show up and they have like maybe 5 to 10 prints, and they don't do well. They don't get sales, and we come by and say hi because they're our friends or whatever, and we're like, oh hey, I didn't know you're gonna be here, whatever. We chit chat, and they lose money because outside of their title, their job title, no one cares. No one likes their art. No one cares about, they don't want to give them money for the thing that they made, and it's really demoralizing and then immediately they lick their wounds and they never do cons again, and then they go back to their studio job, and then they just work for the man because they're like, it's too hard to sell prints. So I don't care what anyone says about these people who only make like a few $100s by selling prints. You realize that some people can't even do that, like who are working. They have a skill that people want to pay them for, but they don't have a product. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't have any of that sense that like some people don't even know how to sell a single print. Some people don't know how to sell a book beyond it, like if they're famous enough to sell a book. You know what I mean? If it's on the merit alone, do people like the artwork in this book, or are people buying it so they can resell it because they know you're famous? Like which one? Like, I'm not knocking one over the other, but I'm just saying, like, these people who, if you can make money online and you can make money on your own, like, in my opinion, those dollars are worth more than the dollars someone paid you. Because you
did that on your own.
Someone wanted that because you did it.
Right.
Not because, like, when you freelance, when you work for a company or whatever, they don't care about the work that you do. They don't think it's beautiful. They don't really care if it's beautiful. They don't care. They care. Is
the client happy?
Yeah.
Is the client happy?
They care if it gets the job done. And so what they're paying you is not for the work that you do. Not at all. They're paying you for the skill that you have. And that means any person coming out of art school can just take your job, because what they're after is, what your value is not the thing that you make. It's the fact that you can make it. So anyone who can make it will just replace you one day. Whereas what you're selling when you're an independent and when you're selling prints or whatever, you're selling yourself. You're selling the thing that you made. No one cares about like your skill, actually, when you're an independent person.
Yeah, and at this age, I see people who are probably like 15 who draw and pass like an animation person, and I'm just like, it's crazy.
If a 15-year-old had the maturity level of a 20-something-year-old, they could get a job very easily. Like, if they held themselves up like they're hot shit, and they know how to speak to adults, and they know how to like negotiate and like use big words and like appear older than they are, they can get a job easily. Because like some 15-year-olds are talented. I don't know, like something about like everyone having iPads the minute that they're born, but they're like far more advanced than I ever was at that age. And I just go like, man, I mean, you give and you give something up for that too. Like, we will never be as technically proficient as some of our teachers are, because they had to like paint everything traditionally. They had to use oil, acrylics, and gouache, and then they had to do so much. We're nowhere near as good as them technically, but we're a lot better with like Photoshop and making things look pretty and finished and whatever. The kids aren't even more so compared to us, and in a lot of ways they will never be as technically proficient as us in terms of like technical skill, but they don't need to be.
The ease in which they could do the things that we do is what matters. That's crazy. I mean, who cares that we did 500 figure drawings a week when these kids can just bust out and draw the same kind of cartoons and backgrounds and all these paintings as we do. It's crazy. It
doesn't matter that like they can't draw traditionally. It doesn't matter that their proportions are all whack or all kind of wacky and whatever. It's like, you just transform it. Like, it's like I used to hate when the teachers at our school would like rag on us for that. Not like
for what?
That like we're lazy and like we take shortcuts and we don't spend time on our pieces. Like they used to spend like weeks. They would agonize.
You hate that they used to rag on us, like lecture us. They're like, you kids.
Stuff. Because like me now being on the other side of it, I'm like, doesn't matter though. Just like it doesn't matter if the kids are like never going to be as technically proficient as us or even as much as our teachers.
Can they do the job?
And it's turning into its own thing anyways. You can't fight it. It just is. Life is going to turn out however life turns out. So I think the solution here for artists is like you need to think of yourself not just as an artist but as something more. Like I don't know the word to describe this. There isn't just one word. It could be multidisciplinary artist or just multimedia artist. Content creator is like an umbrella term, I guess. But what I mean is like you need to become uniquely your own thing by developing a bunch of different talent stacks and being able to offer something unique that people want. So like if you're an artist, that's great, but maybe you learn how to do video. Maybe
learn some After Effects.
Yeah, learn some motion.
Graphic design.
Yeah, graphic design, like branding.
Learn some speech.
Yes.
You know?
To sell yourself.
Talk to people.
And speak.
Maybe like, start a podcast just to even start talking to a camera just to start.
Yeah. And or even learn how to produce music. Because there are, like with the NFT space now, if you can make art and do music, like you can make NFTs or you can like do someone's music video or something, an animated music video, or make your own music video.
Or not just depend on your art. You just have like 5 different other things.
That you can be like, imagine you're getting like royalties here, you're doing something there, and like that's when times are tough and you need money. You gotta like
get creative.
Creative. That's our job. Like build up some skills, learn some new things, combine them, and turn into this weird like
new thing.
Yeah. And I feel like the reason why YouTube artists really shouldn't feel bad about being just a YouTube artist and not a studio artist or whatever is like you don't realize how much you know that like most normal people don't know.
Most people in animation don't know.
Yeah, like people don't know how to use mics. People don't know how to use cameras.
People don't know how to use lights.
People don't know how to use set up and sculpt light. Sculpt a scene with light. People don't know how to speak as well as you if you're doing it regularly all the time. People can't just like turn it on. People say and like too much.
Oh, people can't stand the pressure and the heat of it. Yeah,
they don't. People who aren't online as regularly, they get freaked out. They get freaked out when they get dislikes, when they get mean comments.
Because think about the psychology of like your average animation person. They've been like constantly working for that praise.
Yeah.
Constantly. Since the moment that they draw to the moment they go to an art school to the moment they get hired. It's all about the praise.
Yeah.
So imagine when someone starts criticizing you.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing.
It's the scariest
that
thing.
The people in our industry fear.
They
fear it the worst because you know why? It reminds them of being bullied when they were kids. Doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. And they desperately, because they're immature, they want to become the bully instead of just moving past it. So that's why, in my opinion, people in the industry, some of them who are like drink the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, dislike me so much, is because I'm like showing how awful they truly are. And it's like, fine, like everyone knows you're awful. Let's just admit it. But like they really, really want people to believe that they're not. And I'm like, come on. I'm perfectly fine with people hating me. And if you think I'm awful, that's fine. I don't care. Like, I'm a human being.
But heaven forbid.
But heaven forbid. People don't dislike them. That people think like they can do, like they want to be like Jesus or something.
Right.
They're like, I am a saint.
And all of my students are
my disciples.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, how about have some humility and like, I think you're a much more likable person if you show that you have flaws. Yeah, some people might hate you for it. Some people hate for just to hate. I get this feeling sometimes people give me very, like, what's the word? Like, tongue-in-cheek advice, or like backhanded advice, like backhanded compliments, right? Like, if I'm like upset about like people being mean to me, or like people piling on me, or whatever, I'm just like griping about it, I guess, just as like it's life, it's reality I have to deal with. And people always go like, oh, well, you're on the internet, it's the price that you pay, or like, oh, people will be mean, but these are always the same people who get the most upset if that happened to them. Like, they have zero amount of empathy, and they're the most fearful of being disliked and getting that. But then they go like, oh, but like that's the life you chose, like that's, and I'm like, you're the
No, that's the life you're afraid of.
Yeah, that's the life you're afraid of, and you 100% would go home and cry if people said the same things about you as they did about me, even though like we're like the same. and I was just like, whatever. Yeah. So that's a lot of food for thought. I think we've been saying this for a while, but it's never been more obvious to me right now with looking at the data, looking at Encanto, looking at the whole year. We have like 2 years of data to go through, and like it's so obvious that like things are not looking good and they won't be good for a while. And this is here to stay for at least another 8 years, in my opinion. So
I think for about as long it was good.
Yeah.
So that was about 10 years.
Prepare. What are we recommending this week? We
are recommending the Joe Rogan Experience podcast with Mr. Michael Malice. Why are we recommending this? There's something I fell off of Joe Rogan for a while because of the whole Spotify thing, but now it's like getting really good. And like I stopped watching Joe Rogan and I thought like, fuck man, are we getting a little too extreme? Are we getting too spicy, as the quartering would say? Like, are we getting a little too like, man, like, but then I would listen to Joe Rogan, and like I think the line is here, and Joe Rogan is like right there, like, right there.
I mean, that's why everyone gets so mad at him, because he can say things that would definitely get like most of us banned off the internet, even though most people are thinking it. Come on.
But why this one?
Because Michael is one of those rare people that actually pushes back against Joe. Partly because Michael is very, very sharp and very on. He responds very quickly. I don't know how I wish I can be that quick on my feet.
He would probably have to write 5 books.
Yes.
And have a show or something.
Yeah. Like a daily talk show or something.
Like Scott or something.
But I like when Joe does this thing where, like, we know it because we work in Hollywood, and we've done it before.
I do it all the time.
You do it all the time.
I don't do anything but this.
Yes.
Explain what it is.
Where he doesn't want to say a bad thing about a friend that works in the industry, in Hollywood. Like, he always says, oh, they're good people. I know them. They're fine. Like, they're good people.
They're fine. And I mean, some of them are bad, but most of them are fine.
Yeah. Fine. And, like, what he's saying is, I don't want to talk bad about someone who I work with. And that's it's like he's saving face for not only for himself but also for them. And then Michael,
it's the nice guy thing.
Yeah, it's the nice thing to do. Yeah. It's the like Hollywood thing to do, where you don't want to rock the boat more. Like, you want to like keep your connections, like, you know, like you don't want to criticize. But meanwhile, I'm sitting there and I'm like, Joe, they're literally throwing you under the bus. Like, they don't think 2 seconds about like mocking you, saying that you took horse dewormer, and throwing you under the bus. Meanwhile, you're like, oh no, they're good people. I'm sure they are. That's what people like would say to me. Oh, people at Disney are good people. The executives are great people. The showrunners, they're great people. I'm like, I know they are. You can simultaneously be a good person and also be a dick. Like you know, like you can. It's possible. It happens all the time. Like, you can be nice and polite and, like, in everyday life, a good person, but then the decisions you make at work and the way you treat people at work can be night and day. Or it can be, like, just very selfish. like it's fine.
You could like be really, really like just the most angelic person at your church.
Yeah.
But then when you go to work, it's just like you're just a dictator.
Yeah. Like something happens when you have to like command people, like, you know,
the worst comes out of you, it seems.
And I'm just like, yeah, like why are we talking about someone's nicety, like their politeness? Like it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. Like they just threw you under the bus and you're taking it. You're just and you're being like, oh, they're nice. Like they don't say that about you. They don't think that about you. They're so willing just to get the views, because they'll tell you to your face, oh, it's not personal. It's just my job. Yeah, well, it's your job to talk about this too. And Michael, because he, you know, has no skin in the game, will push back and be like, no, but did they not say that you took horse dewormer? Like, you really think that wasn't on purpose? And then Joe, being a very seasoned Hollywood person, will be like, no, it was totally on purpose, but like they're just doing their job, they're nice people. And I'm just like,
it's their job to be a dick to me. It's no big deal.
Yeah, they don't mean it. They don't mean it. I know them. And I'm just like, Joe. Joe plays this game better than I could ever play this game, because I understand my role, and I understand like people have to shit on me because like I am the antagonist to who they are.
Yes. You are the thorn on their side.
Yes. But I can't pull it. I just don't have it in me. Like
This is your default.
Yes. I'm reading this book, right? To how to win. I'm trying to be nicer, okay? But I'm not Joe nice. I can't just let people step all over me, okay? Like I have these Larry David-esque rants in me, and they just have to come out sometimes. So listen to that podcast. If you like this episode, hit the like button, subscribe, all the things. Check out all these other episodes to binge every single episode, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.